Hi there, how you doing? Smug here. And I wanted to run through the installation of Susan Metoxen's WB Add Ons. It's a rather neat utility that works with your self-hosted server to allow you to create custom URLs and hold custom data for certain screens, such as your map screen or your menus and some other things. So when you get the download, you'll have a package, and you unzip the package. One of the documents you'll find is this instruction set. So go ahead and unzip everything and open this up. And it allows you to dynamically generate JSON content for your BuzzTouch app in your self-controlled, self-hosted control panel using the data URL. So let's sneak on over to installation. There are 4 parts to the installation of each of these add-ons. First, let's create new MySQL tables to hold your data. Now the way you would do this is you would open up your browser and go to your phpMyAdmin and look at your BT self-hosted database. Typically it leads off with BT underscore this, that, and the other. I just did it differently because, well, I do things differently. And you currently start off with 13 fields, or 13 tables. We need to add some more tables to it. So let's see what we do here. Okay, to add these tables, scroll down to the bottom and there's some MySQL scripts already prepared for you. And if you've never used them before, what you want to do is go to your phpMyAdmin under this SQL tab right here, and it'll have a, okay, fine, whatever. It'll have a query screen. So you go over here and you copy everything and paste it into your SQL query box and then hit go. You'll get a green saying, okay, it was successfully, and you'll notice over here you have table contact data. Now it says create table if not exist. Now we did that once and it created the table. Now the table does exist. So create table if not exist. Well, it does exist. So if you hit this again, nothing's really going to happen because the table's already there. It goes, it says create table if not exist, and it goes, oh, but it does exist. And so it ignores everything. So if you hit the go button twice or more than twice, you're not really going to damage anything. So let's go ahead and create our narratives table. Same basic thing. You're just copying the SQL instructions, going over to the SQL tab, pasting the instruction, and hitting go. Okay, so now we have a table narrative data. Let's go down here to map locations, select everything, copy it, go over here to our SQL tab, and we paste it. And kaboom, yeah, we have table contact data, table map data, table narrative data. So we have our tables here. That's great. So let's mosey on over here. Okay, step 2 is to upload the files to your BT server. So what you need to do is start up your favorite FTP program. Mine happens to be FileZilla. And navigate your way to your BT root, the root of your BT server. For me, it's apps, and you'll see all of your, well, you'll see all of your directories. There's a couple of directories in here that actually belong to me. And here's your WB Add Ons. You don't want to delete this. You want to add this. I'm just showing you what's going on. Give it a second. It takes a few minutes to delete it all. Okay, so my BT self-hosted root has no WB Add Ons directory. So, like I say, you make sure it's got everything you want. It'll have these instructions in there. Go ahead and take them out. They're not needed in the FTP server. 16 files need to be transferred over. And give it a second. It'll take a minute. It won't take too long. I'm in Guam, and I'm uploading this to a server somewhere in the US, so your time has to be much faster than mine. Okay, so there it is. We've uploaded our files to our database. or I'm sorry, we've uploaded our files to our self-hosted server. So next, add these links to this file, bt_v15 bt app index.php. So we go to our FTP browser and go to your root again, right? Come on, go to our root. Okay, go to your root, look for BT15, BTV15, double click or whatever, go into it. Then BT app, double click or whatever, go into it. And then scroll down and you'll find your index.php right here. So in our index.php file, we're going to add these links, cut and paste these links below line 251. So we copy all of these links and we go and we find line 251. Now if you want a physical representation, bring up your app and you'll notice that these links here, usage map, push notifications, package, over the air, archives, usage map, push notifications, prepared object over the air, archives, blah, blah, blah. So 251, basically what we're going to do is we're going to paste these links right here. Right, so go over here, paste your links in. If you're anal retentive like me, you make it look pretty. And from doing this more than one time, I know that there's a extra line hiding over here. Yours may or may not have it. And so basically we want to, okay, where's my, here it is, okay. So we've got div, HR div, and add-ons, and 1, 2, 3 divs, 1, 2, 3 divs. So we have all of that. That's good. Alrighty, and then the next step that we're going to do is add these table names to your config.php. So we copy those. We go over here to your BT root, and you open up your config.php file. Now here's where you have your tables around line 85 or so. Just paste those extra table definitions right below it. Make it pretty if you're into that sort of thing. And so now we've added definitions for our contact data, our narrative, our maps, and our events. Okay, okay. And so now the installation is pretty much done. The only thing now is to go to your alrighty, where'd it go? Basically the only thing now is to go to your self-hosted control panel and confirm. Be sure to save your documents. That tends to help quite a bit. Once you've saved your documents up on the website, yeah, you'll have these new links down here for maps. You'll notice we just created our database, so there's not going to be anything in here. But there is a way to add a map location. And you fill out all these forms and then submit it, and that's all great. I'm kind of lazy. I've got a database that I've already created for another reason. By the way, here is your data URL. This right here, app ID, app GUID equals this. We'll be getting back to this in just a moment. So if you're going to set this up and you're going to enter in all of your locations manually by hand, well, you can pretty much stop this video now, because all you really need to do is start adding in information and submitting. For the rest of us who have stuff, we're going to be massaging our database. Now I've got map data, so I select my map data table and it gives me a list of the field names. Right? Okay, so let's minimize this and let's take a look at my file here. It's a CSV file. Come on. Okay, so here's my CSV file, And you can see it's got just about 2,000 records or so, 1,999, although it's probably 1,998 because the first row is field names. Now you'll notice my first row is label, then latitude, longitude, street. All this is created for a Garmin map that I've created. Different application, different thing altogether. But I'm going to use the same data for my BuzzTouch app. So I created a new row, and the reason I created a new row was to basically allow me to mimic these fields in this data collection right here. So let's move that off screen just a little bit so we can still see our field names, and we can make this a bit bigger. So it starts off with ID, GUID, app ID, screen ID, and location name. Now label is going to be our location name, so we give it that. But you'll notice there's a few fields in front of it. Now when you're going to import into a MySQL database, the data that you're importing has to exactly match the field layout of the data or the table that you're importing into. So this data has to lay out in this format in order for me to successfully import it. So let's go ahead and give our fields the same name. Location name, address 1. Oh, we don't have an address 1. Hang on. That's latitude. Latitude. Longitude. Address 1. City, state, although for me it's a village. This says postal code. Country. Nothing, 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 nothing. I'm going to use this for my link image data. You probably will have actual image names and category, and the rest of it doesn't seem to matter much. Okay, so let's go down here. ID, GUID, app ID, location name. Okay, so then we need our address 1. So we insert, select the entire column, and then move your pointer over to either one side or the other. And when you do, you'll see it move into the cursor will change into a hand. Press down on your mouse button and drag it over to where you want it to go, which is that field right there. Okay, so we've got address 1. Let's go with address 2, city, state, postal code, country. Okay, so let's see, address 1. There is no address 2, so we make one correctly spelled. We make one, address 2, and leave it blank. Let's see, address 2, city, state. So select your city, select your state, select your postal code, select your country. Okay, latitude, longitude. Then you've got phone, which we don't have, we're going to leave it blank. Email, we don't have, we're going to leave it blank. Website, we don't have, we're going to leave it blank. Type, we don't have. Category, we do have. Okay, so we're going to take this category. Now notice I typed this in. Let me delete this real quick. And let's just move it over here, because I want to show you something here. Category, and after category is status. After status is date timestamp. After date timestamp is modified. And then you have link image. Okay, so website category status. Date stamp UTC. Modified UTC, and then link image. So select, drag it over here. And what I want to mention to you is if you drag it on top of a row or a column that already has data, it'll give you a warning saying, do you want to replace the contents? for the most part, you want to say no. Okay, so now we have all of our fields matching, but we've got extra data. We need to get rid of that. So let's go over here and delete this data, and that's that. Now, a couple of other things we want to do. First thing you want to do is insert a new row, and I want you to add a dot, a decimal, a period, whatever you call it. Add one to each field on your second row. And what that will do is that will ensure whether you do or do not have any data populating this field, the field will appear. I have found in the past that sometimes if you don't have data in a field column, sometimes it won't import that column and it'll throw out your import. Okay, so ID is the ID of the record in the database. So we're going to leave that blank and we're going to let MySQL put that in by itself. However, the GUID is the GUID for these records. So this record will have its own GUID and this record will have its own GUID. Well, where do we get those from? We make them up. As long as they stay unique, no one cares. So we put in SW for SmugWimp. You can put in whatever you want, as long as you make sure that it's unique in this database, right? So now you can see it increments, and we're going to scroll all the way down and populate each of them with their own unique GUID. Okay, and that's done. 1,998 records. Now the app GUID comes from our application, and remember, we found that right here. Now remember what I just showed you about pasting down, and it incremented all of these. It'll do the same thing to this too if you don't watch out. So what you need to do is paste 2 or 3 of them, and then select all of them and drag them down, and it will repeat the same value time after time, which is what we're looking for. Drag that down, covering all of your records. And once you're done, you're done. Okay, now that we have all of our app GUID populated, let's scroll back up to the top and do a quick once-over. Okay, ID we're going to leave blank. GUID we have populated. The app GUID we have also populated. Now remember that the app GUID is a unique number that refers to this application. In this particular case, it's talking about my offline map test. Yours will be different, of course, but the same concepts apply. Screen GUID we're leaving blank. Location we have. Address 1 we have. Address 2 we're leaving blank. Cities there, states there, postal, country, latitude, longitude. This stuff is blank. We have a category. This stuff is blank. We have a link image. Now let's go ahead and insert today's date and time. Function. Is there a now function? There is, okay. Okay. Equals now, but that doesn't sound right. There we go, okay. Copy these. Quite honestly, I've done this before. You don't actually have to put in a created, but later in life it may be useful, so you never know. So let's go ahead and add those, and the modified. Select them all. Until you get down to where you're going to be. Okay. And let's drag them across. Oh, darn it. Okay, and let's just mimic the same thing in both of them. Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, I think we're done. Let's go ahead and save this as. We're going to save it as a comma separated value, and we're going to call it BT map stuff because, well, because I want to. Alrighty, now, yeah. Now, open up your BT map stuff file with whatever your favorite text editor is, and let's take a quick look and make sure that everything seems to be on the up and up, and so far so good. It's got all our data. There's our dots, making sure that all the commas are in the right place. And the one last thing you want to check is at the very bottom, after the last record, you want to insert a return, and that will keep MySQL from erroring on you. Now, if you don't put in this carriage return and you do import the data, it will give you an error. However, it will give you an error with respect to the last non-existent record. So it will import all of these records in there. Alrighty, so let's go over to our MySQL database, select the table that you want to import into, which right now is table map data. And let's mosey over to the import directory, or the import tab, I should say. Choose the file we want, and we want this BT map stuff, CSV, or whatever CSV you designed, right? Now you remember the first row was the column names or the field names, and the second row was a bunch of dots. So we don't want it to import the first or second row, so we tell it to skip 2 records. Import CSV. If you need to replace the table, you can. If you need to ignore duplicates, if you've added to something that you've imported before, you can ignore the duplicates. The one thing I do find odd is fields are terminated by semicolon, which is not true. It should be a comma because it is a comma separated value. After you have your file and you've skipped whatever records and you've chosen CSV and made sure there's a comma there, just hit go. Now, it'll take a while. At least it'll take a while for mine because I've got almost 2,000 records in it. So give it a minute, and when it's done, it'll say the import has been successful and how many queries or how many records you've imported. So if we go back over to our map data, you'll see now that it deleted this. It imported this one anyway, and we don't want that. So we're going to drop that record. Okay, right. Drop. Yes, drop. Okay, so now we've got... Perfect. Okay, so we've got nothing but data. Alrighty, that's a good thing. So what that will also mean is in our maps, it should now populate, and it does, all of our data right here. Is that great or what? And so to get this information, you would take this and use this as a data URL. And if you use it as a data URL, if it's successful, it should come back with a whole slew of child items. And it does. Look at that. There's a whole bunch of them. So now, let's, just for giggles, select all, copy, paste, and then validate. And it's valid JSON. But it looks horrible. So let's format it. Select all, copy, and now this is our JSON. Now let's just take a quick look at one. It's got our item ID, and this is our unique GUID that we gave it. It's a map location because that's where I put it. Latitude, longitude, the title, subtitle, blah, blah, blah. Then it also automatically builds your load screen object, brings in a screen URL, a custom URL, with some information about your location, and also another data URL about it. So, let's go ahead and close this for a second, and let's not worry about this for a moment. But let's go on to our application itself. If we go to our application home, we go to our screens, and here's my online map. You'll notice my online map has no child items in the control panel, but we use the data URL to get our data. Okay? So, you have your app up. Make sure you've got the latest config data in it. Now remember, this is a data URL, so it's coming from online. So we click on our maps. Again, there's 2,000 records. It's going to take a minute. But when it does figure out everything, and it might take a minute, but eventually it will. Come on, eventually. There we go. Okay. So then it will display your region with all of your markers on it. In my case, 1,998 of them, I think. So let's go in a little closer here. And so you click on any one of them. Here's Benson's Hardware in Mighty Guam. If you click on the information, it'll give you whatever information you have on it. Now, right now, I have very little information on that one. What's this one? That's Tropicware. Okay, I got a little more information on that one. It's apparel, address, driving directions if you want them. Phone number would, if you had a phone number, it would let it dial for you. This is where your image is going to be. Of course, I didn't really put literal images in there, and so I'm not done yet. But if I did have a valid image, that's where it would go. Otherwise, this is what you're up against. This is what's doing for you. Now, if you need to make a change, you just make a change to your database right here. You don't need to worry about making any changes in your control panel. It's so cumbersome. The more data you give it, the more data it will have. And you can have, you know, this is a custom URL, so it's actually a custom page that's created on the fly with this backend PHP. But that's how it works, and that's how it, that's how it works. I hope you enjoy it. If you have any questions, give me a yell or give Susan a yell. She created it, and it's all ready to customize, just waiting on you. Alrighty? Have a great day. We'll talk to you later. Cheers.